All right, thanks Mom, thanks Dad, doing a great job on all the service this morning. We really do appreciate it. You know, you can't get to Valentine's Day without thinking about weddings and all the engagements that are going to take place. How many people actually get engaged on Valentine's Day? Well, I have a stat for that. We're going to go over that in a little bit. Before we do, as I do think about weddings that get associated with Valentine's Day, there's a Christian comedian from St. Louis named Tim Hawkins who was doing a stand-up routine talking about songs that may not go well at a wedding. And so I'd like you to watch along with me this morning.
Yeah, man. I tell you what, music helps us out a lot. I love to sing. I sing in weddings, believe it or not. Why don't y'all shut your mouth? I had a friend call me not too long ago. He said, dude, I'm getting married. I want you to sing at my wedding. I'm like, okay, I'd be honored. When are you getting married? He goes, in 2 weeks. I'm like, well, thanks for the heads up. I said, well, what do you want? He goes, well, my friend I wanted to sing, he fell through, so I called you. Well, flattered, thank you. I said, okay, when do you want me to sing to the wedding? He goes, well, when the bride's walking down the aisle. I just sang that. You sure about that? I said, okay, well, what do you want me to sing? He goes, you pick. Yeah. That's what I was thinking. Half of me's going, no way. The other half of me's like, I can make this a wedding no one's ever going to forget. There's a lot of songs that go well, very appropriate at a wedding. We're walking down that. What's love got to do? Got to do? That would be very appropriate. Heard it from a friend who, heard it from a friend who, heard it from another you've been messing around. That wouldn't be good at all. She's my best friend's girl, but she used to be mine. Well, there's a friend over that one. Well, there's worse. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. You can't always get what you want, but you can try sometimes. You might find you get what you need. Who gives this one? I'm sorry. We're going to cut that. That's not going to be on the show.
In 2021, you just never know. Valentine's Day. Some people absolutely love it, and some people absolutely dread it. Some just don't care. And so where are you on the spectrum? Well, some ways to tell. Have you ever said Valentine's Day is just a Hallmark holiday? Who has ever said that? All right, so you don't like it, most likely. I get it. And some of you are absolutely in love with it. And then there's others of you that say, well, you should be loving every day. It's not like you need a day to set aside for it. So, you know, there's just different attitudes as it comes to Valentine's Day. Now, what's kind of interesting is you tend to marry somebody who is on the opposite end of the spectrum as yourself. And so I'll ask my wife here, which one of us likes Valentine's Day more? Yeah, me, that's right. I'm the hopeless romantic. I have been my whole life, even from kindergarten on. It's been my nature. And my wife, you know, she's fine with Valentine's Day, but, you know, it's just as well if it wasn't on the calendar too, I think. So that's fine. Odds are you don't see eye to eye. But let's have some fun with Valentine's Day. We're going to do some Valentine's Day trivia here, just to see what you think you know. Now, Owen, you're not allowed to answer these out loud, as you already know the answers on these. So let's go ahead and see what we know about Valentine's Day. How many greeting cards are sent each year for Valentine's Day? So we got A, 500 million, B, 1 billion, C, 1.5 billion, D, 5 billion. For the record, these stats come from 2019, so they're really recent. And so the numbers would be skewed the next couple of years potentially. But anyway, how many of you are going to go with A on this one? All right, we got some A. How many going with B? All right, how about C? And then how about D? All right, so let's kick it off here and see what we got. All right, so A's out the window, D's out the window. We are with B, 1 billion. All right, so some people got it right. That's good. According to the Greeting Card Association, who knew there was such a thing, there's approximately 1 billion cards sent out every year. It makes it the second largest card sending holiday of the year. What is number 1? Christmas. Absolutely. All right, let's keep moving along here. What percentage of flowers purchased on Valentine's Day are red? So, we got 50%, 60%, 69%, or 86%. Who are going to 50%? All right, not a lot of love for that one. How about 60%? A little bit of love for that one. How about 69%? All right, we got some hands on that one. How about 86%? Okay, let's see what happens. 86 is gone. That's most everybody. And so we're down to 69%. Yes, Owen, you should be surprised you got that one. All right. According to a consumer tracking study, the roses purchased on Valentine's Day, 69% are red, 6% are pink, 6% are peach or salmon. I assume that's the closest to pink they could find, and that's why they buy that one. 5% yellow, 4% white, and so on. So there you go. All right, let's keep going on here. Who created the first Valentine's Day chocolate box? So we got Richard Cadbury, Russell Stover, Milton Hershey, or Satan. And so we'll see who's going with Cadbury, as in Cadbury Bunny. All right, so we got someone who wants that. Who's Russell Stover? All right, we got some people who go to Branson. You've heard of that one. Okay, Hershey, who's going to Pennsylvania. All right, we got some people there. Who's going with Satan? Okay, you voted twice on that one. I saw that. All right, let's see what happens. Okay, so Satan's out. And he's out. Who do we got? Who do we got? Richard Cadbury. That's right. So this goes back to 1822. Not the box itself, but in 1822, his dad, John Cadbury, opened up a tea and coffee shop in Birmingham, England. And he soon expanded it into chocolate manufacturing. You know, just kind of like Starbucks. Started with coffee, then now they increase it to cake pops and brownies and everything else. Well, in 1861, his son said they could increase sales if they packaged chocolate in heart-shaped boxes for Valentine's Day. And it's been popular since 1861. So there you go. All right, so let's move on here. Number 4. What continent produces the most roses sold in the U.S. on Valentine's Day? So we got Antarctica, we got South America, Europe, and North America. So what continent produces the most roses sold in the U.S.? Antarctica. Anybody go with that? All right, just check. South America. All right, we got some hands on South America. Europe. All right, we got some Europe there. And how about North America? All right, very good. Let's see what we have here. All right, Antarctica's out. So no one picked it, so that's good. Oh, that one's gone. What do we got left? We got South America. That's right. Most of the roses are imported from South America. So, all right, let's go ahead and keep going on here. Now we're getting to our wedding proposals. How many are there each year on Valentine's Day? We got 0. We got 150,000, 220,000, or 500,000. 0. All right, 150,000. All right, got the end of that. 220,000. All right, got some love on that one. 500,000. All right, some of you didn't answer on that one because I don't know. Let's see. Okay, so it's not 0. It's not 500,000. We are at 220,000. All right. How many of those end up following through with the wedding? We don't know, but that's just the stats on that. So let's go on to number 6. Only a couple more left here. On average, men spend twice as much as women on gifts for each other on Valentine's Day. How much do the guys spend? So we got 50, 130, 200, and 250. Who's going with 50? All right. Who's going with 130? All right. Got some love on 130. 200. A little bit of love on 200 and 250. All right. So no one thinks the guys are that big a spender. So let's find out. All right. So 50's out. Hey, the 250's out. So you did good avoid that. It is 130. 130. Now you know why some guys hate this holiday, okay? And I need to apologize to my wife because I am far below average. I do not spend that kind of money on Valentine's Day, but I can't help it if the deals are so good at Goodwill, okay? They're just so good, I just can't pass up on it. So, all right, let's do. I think we just got one more left up here. How many U.S. states have a city named Valentine? Is it 1, 4, 10, or 23? Who's going with 1? All right, who's going with 4? All right, who's going with 10? 23. All right, let's see what we got here. It's not 1. It's also not 23. It is 4. There are 4 cities in the United States. There's Valentine, Arizona, There's Valentine, Nebraska, Texas, and Virginia. So the question you need to ask yourself is, next Valentine's Day, which one are you going to travel to? The closest one is Valentine's, Nebraska, and it's 11 and a half hours away. I also didn't look up any sightseeing things to do while you're there, but that's just the closest one if you're going geographically speaking. All right, that's fun. But let's get a little more serious. What is all the fuss about Valentine's Day and love really about? No doubt there is aspects of commercialism that drive Valentine's Day, but I think we would also say that's true of Christmas. But I think Christians would also agree Christmas is worth celebrating. It's got a deeper meaning to it. Well, I think Valentine's Day can have a deeper meaning to it as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to travel back to the 3rd century AD. That's between the years 2 and 300 after Christ. And there was a Catholic priest there who worked as a doctor, and his name was Saint Valentine. And he lived in Italy, and he served as a priest in Rome at time as well. Historians don't know much about Valentine's early life. You know, the record keeping back then, they didn't have the cloud to save it in, okay? So there just wasn't a lot of information. Well, he became famous because he started marrying couples in Rome when it was illegal. See, there was an emperor at the time named Claudius II, and he outlawed weddings. I know that is a dream for some of you all. But back then, that was a real issue. Because Claudius wanted to recruit new soldiers, new men to his army, and he thought that marriage would be an obstacle. He also wanted to prevent existing soldiers from getting married because he thought marriage and kids would distract them from the work of being in the military. And if you think about his logic, it's pretty flawed. Because if all the young men don't get married and go in the military and get killed, who's going to repopulate the country? He didn't really think that process through. But all the same, in the short term, he thought this would be a way to boost numbers and have more intentional, focused fighters. Valentine believed, though, St. Valentine, in God's institution of marriage. And he believed in the power of love. So he would secretly meet with couples and marry them in defiance of the emperor's orders. So here's a picture of what he might have looked like as well. When Emperor Claudius discovered that Valentine was performing weddings, he sent Valentine to jail. Valentine used his time in jail, though, to continue to reach out with the love of Christ and made sure that others knew that that love of Christ was available to them as well. Actually, interesting story, Valentine befriended his jailer, Asterius, who was so impressed with Valentine's wisdom that he asked Valentine to help his daughter Julia with her school lessons, because Julia was blind. And she needed someone who could read the material to her and help her learn it. And so Valentine became friends with Julia through his work with her. Emperor Claudius also came to like St. Valentine. And he offered Valentine a full pardon if he would renounce his Christian faith and worship the Roman gods. Well, you can say Valentine was not too thrilled with the options, and so he refused to leave his faith. But not only that, he encouraged Emperor Claudius to place his trust in Jesus. Well, Valentine's faithful choices cost him his life. Emperor Claudius was so enraged at Valentine's response, he sentenced him to death. So where did the idea of the Valentine card originate? Well, before he was killed, Valentine wrote one last note to his friend Julia, who he'd been tutoring, and he encouraged her to stay close to Jesus. He thanked her for being a good friend, and he signed the note, "From your Valentine." And it was that note that inspired people to begin sending out their own love messages during a feast day, which became Valentine's Day, which was celebrated traditionally on February 14th, the same day that Valentine was martyred. How was he killed? He was beaten, stoned, and beheaded on February 14th, the year 270. So people who remembered his loving service to many young people began celebrating it by sending cards, chocolate boxes, and eventually so much more. So is Valentine's Day worth celebrating? Well, I think it is. If you only make it about going out to a fancy meal and giving flowers and romance, you're probably missing the boat. I think Valentine's Day is worth celebrating for many reasons, not the least of which is that Valentine said love is worth dying for. The love that God gives us is worth dying for. But I want to give you a few reasons why I think Valentine's Day is worth celebrating today. All right, let's begin with this. Love is a gift from God. Love is a gift from God. In 1971, Tim Clay had a hit song. It was number 61 in the top 100 on February 14th of 1971. You know what it was? What the world needs now is love, sweet love, not just for some, but for everyone. The world is definitely in need of love right now. The world is in need of a true love that comes from God. And I'm going to tell you, it doesn't come from flowers and chocolate boxes. So much of the love peddled by the world is as fake as a $3 bill. Even some of the Valentine's love of chocolate boxes and cards and fancy meals and lingerie are possibly soaked with false love. Each of these can be an aspect of love if the context is right, but it can equally be a veil that covers the truth. So we have to start looking to the right source of love in our lives. We have to look to God. All love that we need can be found at the cross. Love to save, love to heal, and love to deliver. Love that will bring you peace with God and peace with mankind is found at the cross. You don't have the capability to love anyone apart from the love of God. Wives cannot love their husbands right apart from the love of God. Husbands cannot love their wives right apart from God. Mothers and fathers can't love their children right apart from the love of God. Children can't love their parents right. Brothers and sisters, neighbors, friends, co-workers. You can't love someone right if you separate that love from God. It's in discovering God's love for us and how God has loved us that we can truly love one another. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. And only true sweet love comes from God. The Bible gives us the best description of love in 1 Corinthians 13. If you've been to a wedding, you've heard it. But I want to read the first few verses for you today. If I could speak all the languages of earth and of angels, but didn't love others, I would only be a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. If I had the gift of prophecy, and if I understood all of God's secret plans, and possessed all knowledge, and if I had such faith that I could move mountains, but didn't love others, I would be nothing. If I gave everything I have to the poor, and even sacrificed my body, I could boast about it. But if I didn't love others, I would have gained nothing. Love is right at the center of being human. It's what makes humans truly unique, our capacity to love, even when our emotions don't line up with it. And the more we love each other, the more we experience humanity as God designed it. But the less we love each other, the more animalistic we begin to treat each other, attacking one another and hurting one another. Is it any wonder we see the violence in our country today? It's because there is a lack of genuine, godly love. And it's coming from everywhere on all sides. Love is a gift from God. And we need to not only understand that truth, but we need to practice in sharing that love. And because love is a gift from God, I want to let you know that love is worth celebrating. Love is worth celebrating. The reason love is worth celebrating is that God has given it to us as a gift. And this is partly why I have no major problem celebrating Valentine's Day. To have a day set aside to make love a priority and to celebrate seems like a reasonable action to me. It should not be contained only to one day, obviously. But to have an intentional day set aside to love is a wonderful idea. Think of all the things in your life that you schedule. You schedule work meetings. You schedule days off. You schedule vacations. You schedule doctor's appointments. You schedule friends to come over and visit. You schedule game nights. We schedule a time during our worship service every week to remember the sacrifice of Jesus on the cross. We call it communion. Is that a good idea? I think most people say, yeah, I think that's a pretty good idea. Is once a week too often? No. Is it often enough? Probably not. But you get the idea here. We set aside a special time and a special place to recognize the value of something. So don't you think having a scheduled day each year to put love on this extreme pedestal is reasonable? I do. And not because I'm a sucker for Hallmark cards. Actually, I'm not a big cards person. But I believe it is a reasonable thing to do because love is a gift from God. And it is worth celebrating. Author Leo Buscaglia tells a story about his mother and their misery dinner. See, it was a night after his father had come home from work, and it looked as if he was going to have to declare bankruptcy at his law firm. His partner had ran off with all the funds, and they had no means to track him and do anything about it, and they weren't going to be able to pay their bills. And so that day, his mother went out with her best jewelry and sold it, so she could buy a feast, and she prepared a feast. I mean, all the fixings, the roast and the potatoes and the carrots and the shrimp ring, and it just went on. And the family heard about it, the extended family, and they criticized her. They said, this is awful. But she said, that night we laughed and we celebrated because we needed a time for joy now, not next week. And if you're not celebrating love on Valentine's Day, or you're not actively thinking about it, I say, why not? What are you delaying for? What are you waiting for? Yes, it's worth celebrating every day. And sometimes it's the little things that go a long way to celebrate your love. Every day, Missy and I have a habit at lunch. I go home for lunch every day because the commute's not too bad. It's a little chilly, but it's not bad. But when I go home for lunch, we play a dice game every day. So far, we're coming up on close to 600 of a particular game we've been playing called Farkle, and that's good. But before that, we played Yahtzee, and we were over 500 games of Yahtzee deep. Before that, we played Battleship. I don't know how many games of Battleship we played. And then we played Sequence with Dice before that. This has been now almost 5 years. Almost every day at lunch, we play the game. And during that time, we laugh, we talk, we playfully get mad at each other. She tells me she hates me often, and because when I win, and it's fun. We have a great time laughing, and it's something I look forward to every day. And here's what's really interesting about it. If we have had an argument, which is rare, but if it would happen, and it's my fault, which it always is, she didn't tell me that, that's just coming from me. We still sit down and we play the game at lunch. Oh, maybe I'm a little quieter, maybe a little bit more withdrawn. Maybe we're not making as much eye contact or talking about the things we normally would. But it keeps us connected. It's a daily routine of celebrating our love through playing a simple dice game together. And ultimately, it's an icebreaker to open up lines of communication. You need to celebrate your love every day in very simple ways. Maybe it's a dice game. Maybe it's a jigsaw puzzle. Maybe it's a TV show together and you sit next to each other on the couch. I don't know. But there's ways to get connected. But once in a while, it's good to go extravagant. Once in a while, it's good to go big. Celebrate with all the bells and whistles. Why? Ultimately, because love is a gift from God. And you need to realize this next one. Love is a need we all have. Love is a need we all have. It's the language that every human speaks. As author Gary Chapman wrote it, and that love is expressed in 5 different ways. He wrote the book, The 5 Love Languages, and they are words of affirmation, quality time, gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. Each one of us needs to receive one of these love languages on a consistent basis to feel loved, to be reminded we are loved. And when we fail to receive this love, we have issues of anger, resentment, frustration, depression, and detachment. And notice, all these love languages can be expressed in almost all of your relationships, not just marriage. Obviously, you got to have some boundaries about expressing physical touch, but something like a handshake, an arm on the shoulder can really affirm what someone means to you. It lets them know that you're loved. But if you fail to give love on a consistent basis, if you fail to receive that love that you need on a consistent basis, it's going to harden your heart. There's a story years ago that Dad told me, and I don't know if this was your experience, Dad, in a counseling session or if you got it from another preacher, but you just go along with it, and I'd appreciate it. But true story about a couple that came in for marriage counseling. We'll say it was with Dad, because that's how I remember the story. And they sat down, and the guy was kind of bouncy, and the lady was kind of quiet, withdrawn, and, oh, we're just going through a few problems, Steve, can you help us out with this? And he's just jabbering on for 20, 30 minutes, just, and finally Dad's like, I appreciate you talking, I'd like her to speak now. And she's like, well, and she tried expressing what had gone on, like, taking me for granted over all these years, like, never wanted to buy me flowers, said they were too expensive, and never wanted to do this. And she listed a whole bunch of things that seemed trivial, they seemed minor. But she explained that, at this point, if my heart was this rock of love that I had given to him, every time he failed to express that love, it was like he chipped away a piece of that rock. Every day that, oh, those flowers are too much, what a waste of money. No, we're not going out there. We're not going to stay at a hotel over the weekend, that's silly. No, we're not going to buy that expensive dinner when we got food in the freezer. It just got to the point where he chipped everything away, and I have no love left to give. And the husband's like, well, fine, I'll buy you the flowers. She goes, you missed the point. It's too late. I have nothing left to give to you. And it didn't work. Of course the marriage didn't work after that point. Now, the challenge in marriage is you often marry someone who has a different love language than you do. At first, it's really not a problem at all because you're in the honeymoon phase, and you go out of your way to make life good for the other person. However, as time goes on, you begin to drift more towards selfishness. And when you don't receive the kind of love you want, you begin to withhold love from the other. And when they don't receive the love they want, they in turn withhold love from you, and it becomes a vicious cycle. I like how one preacher said in a conference to married couples. He said, imagine the way you treat your spouse is how one of your children is being treated in their marriage. Would you be happy with that? And he said it's sometimes the reality check people need when they start thinking about how to treat their spouse. Love is a need we all have in marriage, and it's a wonderful relationship to express that love. We just need to remember one more aspect of love. And this is true whether you're married, whether you're single. Love is sacrificial. Love is sacrificial. John 3:16. It's a favorite verse because it details what love really is. God so loved the world that he gave his only son. God loved us and demonstrated it for us by giving a gift to us, his son. God knew the best way to express his love for us was to give in a sacrificial way. So let's keep reading here in 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. When you look at what that passage describes love as, we see love is very sacrificial. Patience is sacrificial of yourself. Kindness is too. Not envying, not being boastful, not being proud, not being easily angered, not keeping a record of mistakes. It's not self-seeking. That by definition is the opposite of selfishness. When we practice that kind of love, it never fails. The problem is most people don't practice that kind of love. Most people practice a love that is closer to selfish than selfless. Most people practice a love, I'll love you the way you want if you love me the way I want. But if you don't love me the way I want, then I won't love you the way I want. We have reciprocal love. And that kind of love will eventually fail. Sacrificial love is a love that gives without seeking reward. In John chapter 13, it says this, it was just before the Passover feast. Jesus knew that the time had come for him to leave the world and go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he now showed them the full extent of his love. Notice what Jesus is preparing to do. He's not going to just tell them about his love. He's not going to give them a simple demonstration. He's going to show them the full extent of his love. And that will go through many different phases. It would be through washing of their feet, sharing in communion, and ultimately going to the cross. The full extent of Christ's love for his disciples was expressed on many different sacrificial levels. And this is true in our relationships with one another. We must be sacrificial on different levels. When you're dating, you go out of your way. It's simple. Don't fall into selfishness today, wherever you are. Love sacrificially, whether it is a spouse, a best friend, a neighbor, a child, a parent. Final verse we're going to look at here, 1 Corinthians 13:13. And now these three remain, faith, hope, and love. But at the greatest of these is love. It's not original with me, but I really like the paraphrase that takes that last line and puts it this way. Real love stands the test of time. Real love stands the test of time. That's why love is the greatest. Love that is based on God's love, that is celebrated and shared and sacrificial, can stand the test of time. That's the kind of love that's never going to be found in a person, because people tend to be selfish. That kind of love can only be found in the author of love, God himself. And so as the worship team joins me on stage, I ask you, where is your love foundation today? Maybe you have found a lot of broken relationships in your life because the foundation of your understanding of love has been Hollywood, or it's been music, or it's been books. those paint pictures that are not real. And if you seek it, you will be disappointed and let down at the end. And so this morning I ask you, where are you looking for love? Well, as the old song says, sometimes you're looking for love in all the wrong places. This morning you can look in the right place. You can look in the right place. The author of love, God himself, offers an invitation. The invitation is to come to him if you're weary and burdened, and he will give you rest. Only a loving God would ever choose to do that. He chooses to offer that to you today. This morning, if you need to make a decision to receive the love of Christ, you meet me down front as we stand and as we sing.